So our lesson today is word problems with algebra. A question like this. John is 5 years older than Peter. If together their ages total 25, how old are they? The first thing I want you to do, first thing, did I switch on my phone? First thing I want you to do is find the comparative sentence. First, find comparative sentence. Comparative sentence. What does that mean? Comparative sentence. What does that mean? Find the comparative sentence. Can anybody guess? Yes? The comparing sentence, the sentence that compares. So let's just like put brackets around the sentence that is comparing two people's ages or two people's things or whatever. But here I see John is 5 years older than Peter. That's a comparison. Here, we're comparing John and Peter's age. So I'm just going to find it. It's not always the first one. Because in word problems, you know that sometimes they just give you extra information. So I want you to first find the comparative sentence. So far, so good? Number 2, second. I want you to underline the person, place, or thing. Person, place, or thing that has the least information. So I want you to underline the person, place, or thing that has the least information in the comparative sentence. So John is 5 years older than Peter. Who do we know less about?
1, 2, 3, testing.
Who do we know less about? John's age or Peter's age? Peter's age. We know John, we know a little bit about John, not much, but we know that John is 5 years older than Peter. What do we know about Peter? Nada, 0, nothing. So we're going to underline Peter. Now, when I say underline the last person, one of the hints is usually it's the last person, place, or thing. Usually the last person, place, or thing in the comparative sentence. So that's just a little trick, a little bit to help find it's usually the last person, place, or thing. So look, the last thing we talk about is Peter's age. He's the last one. So that's just a little like help. And then once we underline Peter's age now becomes X, the unknown. So third, we're going to have to now identify them. We're going to algebraically identify the situation where Peter's age will be X. He's the unknown. He's the one that we know least about. And then we're going to compare John to Peter algebraically. What does this mean? 5 years older. What does that mean in algebra? This is why we learned a bit of translation. Plus 5. So do I just write plus 5 or do I write X plus 5? X plus 5. So now Peter's age is X and John's age is X plus 5. Does that make sense so far? So we have Peter, we know nothing about, and we have John, who we know is Peter plus 5. Peter's age plus 5. Together, together, together. What does together mean?
Total.
The total. Total means what? To do what in math? Yes, and what do you do when we say all together? You add them. So look what happens. I'm going to add X. Here's Peter. You see Peter? Hi, Peter. Here's Peter. Plus John. Here we go. Hey, John. This is John, the big J. You see him? Peter. Peter's age. John's age. Together, cheeky right here, together, they total 25. So we go 25. Now, do we know how to solve this? Do we know how to solve this? Yes, we should. We say, oh, there's one x plus another x gives me how many x's? 2 x's. We have a plus 5 that we're going to remove from this side. So how do we do that algebraically? Solving for x as a minus. So we bring them over. Boom, minus 5. This gets rid of this. Equals 20, sorry. 25 minus 5 is 20. And I'm left with this 2. What do I do with the 2? Divide by 2. So now x, who happens to be Peter's age, is an answer of 10. So what does that mean? John is 10 years old. John is 10. Peter is 10 years old. Peter is 10 years old. And John is 5 years older. So 10 plus 5 is equal to 15 for John. And together, how can I check if I'm right? How can I check if I'm right? How can I check? Yeah, see, look, let me see. Oh, 10, oh, 5 years, 25. Oh, wow! I'm so good. Now, I am going to mark this usually out of 3 or 4 marks. Normally, I do it over 4. What do I look like? What do I look for marks? I look for this. Here, this is worth 1 mark. 1 mark. 2 marks. If you can give me this. 2 marks. 2 marks. That's the equation I'm looking for. My third mark is, did you solve for x? X is equal to 10. That's my third mark. And my last mark will be this. The final answer. Peter's age is, John's age is. That's your 4th mark. So this you would have to put in the answer as a finale. Any questions? So this example, fairly easy. First thing that I ask you to do always is just to put brackets around the, what sentence? Compare, where the 2 are being compared. It's usually the first sentence, but not always. In this case it is, Natalie ran twice as far as Erica. This is comparing sentence. We are comparing the distance that each girl, Natalie and Erica, ran. Who do we know least about, the least possible information about? Erica, who happens to usually be in the sentence the last person, place, or thing that we're talking about. So it's Erica. Boom. Once you're here, guys, once you've figured out the comparing sentence and who is X, the rest should be like butter, smooth. So we're going to write, got it? We're going to write X is Erica's distance. That good? Erica's distance. X represents Erica's distance. And how about Natalie? Natalie will be what? What's her expression? What's her expression? 2x. So now we have 2x for Natalie. Natalie's distance. Cool. We're almost there. Not that hard, especially the easy ones are great. You get 1 mark for showing me this. The second mark is to make the equation. So mark number 1, first mark. Done. I got it. Boom. At least get 1 on 4 if you don't know anything else. Second mark. I need an equation. Second mark.
1, 2, 3, testing.
Second mark. Equation. What's the equation? Yes.
X plus 2x equals 12.
Perfect. Make sure that you understand this is Erica's distance. Make sure you understand this is Natalie's distance, and that together, which is the symbol of a plus in the math world, equals to 12 kilometers. Now, I don't want to see units inside my equations. I don't want to see kilometers. I want to see minutes. I don't want to see nothing. What I want to see is this. And I want you to solve. And then in your answer, you're going to write me the distance in kilometers. So x plus 2x. How many x's do I have? 3x. 3x equals to 12. Divide by 3. X is equal to 4. This is worth mark number 3. The third mark is that you know how to solve equations. The fourth mark is to apply what the x value is. So my fourth and final mark, my fourth mark, will be to say, hey, Erica ran for what? Kilometers. And Natalie ran twice as much. So I could go do it here and just say, hey, 2 times 4 is 8. So Natalie ran 8 kilometers. I'm just going to check for the well-being of my, I want to get 4 on 4, and say, oh, well, 4 plus 8 is, ooh, 12. I got 12. Double of 4 is 8. Everything looks right. 4 plus 8 is, my final answer gives me my 4 on 4. Love it. Question number 3. The sum of 2 numbers is 41. The larger number is 4 less than twice the smaller number, or just the smaller one. What are the numbers? So, can you figure this out? First, we have to find, guess what? The comparative sentence. It's not the first sentence in this case, it's the second. I feel like Donna White. So looking at the second sentence, which happens to be where they're comparing, let's underline the x, the one that we know the least amount. So the smaller number happens to be x, and the larger will be 2x. Why? Because it says 4 less than means to reverse, right? Less than, more than, added to, from, subtracted from. Those all means to reverse. So I put the -4 at the end and the twice the number at the front. That's 1 mark. Second mark is an equation. This better be filming. Is an equation is x plus 2x minus 4. This being the smaller number, and this one being the larger, equals a sum of 41. mark number 2. Mark number 3 is to solve. 1 plus 2 is 3. Have you heard me say this before? Minus 4 equals 41. I'm going to add the minus 4 as a plus 4. So I have 3x equals 45. And we know it's going to be divisible by 3 because we made it. Equals to 50. So the smaller. So 1 mark, 2 mark, 3 mark. Smaller number is 15. Larger is 26. Together, 41. Even got some French in there. This is your 4th mark. Imagine we were live, reporting live. So this example gets more difficult. Let's look at it together and read it. The sum of 3 numbers is 33. That's not comparing anything. The comparative sentence is right here. And it's actually much more complicated than when we compare 2 things. There are 3 things being compared, and the last one that they're comparing is not the one we know the least amount about. So which one do we know the least amount about? So the second number, already, I know that the second number is 7 less than the first. So the second number is not going to be x. Then it says the third is 2 more than the, so we know that the third is not going to be x. So which one has the least amount of information? The first, right here. Please, and very important, to get yourself going, for it to be easier, for you to be organized, that you underline the one that has the least amount of information, and the one that we are going to label as x, the unknown. And from there, we go, okay, the second, so the second number right here, the second number is going to have to do with, the second number is 7 less than the first. Well, 7 less than the first is minus 7. X minus 7. Do you agree with me? Good. And then the third, this is cool, because what does the third say? The third says the third is 2 more than the second. Not 2 more than the first. It's not x plus 2, but 2 more than the second. And well, the second is x minus 7. Do you agree? That's the second. And it's 2 more than that. Boom! All of a sudden, it got much harder, much faster. But look how nice and neat we are. That's 1 mark. My second mark comes from adding them all up, the sum. Boom, 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 the sum. So I do x plus x minus 7. So here's my first. Here's my second number. My third is x minus 7 plus 2 with a total of 33. Do I need the brackets here? Not really. Why? Because it's an addition. But if they would have said the difference between the numbers, this negative, this minus, would have been very important to have the brackets. Yes?
Why do you have the brackets?
For now, it's just to show you that it's the second. So that I'm adding 2 to the second. But I don't need them because it's a plus. So I'm going to pretend they're not there.
How do you know when to add the brackets?
Because if it's a minus, if I ask you for, instead of the sum, I say the difference. Remember, minus is very important to distribute. The plus will not do anything. Make sense? Next thing I'm going to do is add 1x plus 1x plus 1x equals 3x's minus 7 plus 2 gives me negative 12 equals, always in a line, 33 plus 12 gives me 45 divided by 3x is equal to 15. Now, that's your third, this is your second mark, this is your third mark. I love correcting these because it's very straightforward what I look for. 1 mark, 2 marks, 3 marks, and your final answer saying that the first number is 15. Now, I'm just doing it here, but in reality, I want it in a final answer. The 3 numbers are, Miss, the first is 15. The second is 15 minus 7. So it's 8, my first number. My second number and my third number is 15 minus 7, which is 8 plus 2 means that my third number is 10. Let's check 15 plus 8 plus 10. What's the total? 33? Boom! So happy.